Um, we mentioned at the beginning of class that there's going to be this hosting or facilitation project, and that we would take it a step at a time. So we're just gonna, you don't have to think about the whole project right now, but we need to give it a good beginning. Um, this week, besides the mixtape, I'm going to also assign as kind of as the reading, um, probably about a 30-minute or so video. So it's a little lecture that introduces some of the ideas that you'll be practicing in this assignment, and tell some stories so you get a feel of the life of the thing. And here's just a little orientation to what the project is. Um, so the job is to host a conversation that matters to a group of people, and this group of people are in some kind of long-term relationship. They're in the same organization or community, or they share a place, a neighborhood. They work together. I mean, I'll give examples of what other students have done, but they're not just a random group of people that have no reason to be together. And you'll work in groups. We'll talk about how those groups get formed. And these are the rough steps. Listen, spend some time listening. That's the first thing. Plan and prepare. We'll support you in that. Host the gathering and make a report. So in past years, last year, because we were all Zoom and it was a short semester, we didn't do it. Those people who are second years now have not done this project. But these are some examples of the kinds of groups. Someone had access to a senior center and they brought in middle schoolers for an intergenerational gathering. There's been 2 or 3 different interfaith gatherings. Someone had access to a high school. Someone had access to a corporate startup team. The interaction design department down on the 3rd floor, somebody worked with. So these are examples of whether it was a student who had access to this group, or they got it through faculty or second year students, or some other way. So we'll talk about that. And these are just examples of covers or pages from past student reports, where you can see pictures of, here they are, they're hosted at DSI, they hosted in someone's living room, they hosted on a rooftop with a fire, some kind of lovely, really lovely, touching, moving gatherings have happened. I think this project for almost everybody feels kind of uncertain and maybe kind of big at the beginning, but we regularly hear what a good experience it tends to be. You can, uh, 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 never mind the big green square. It's important to say that this is not a design research project. So you're not trying to discover needs and opportunities. This first step of listening, you're trying to listen, and I'll give you a written assignment that gives some suggestions for the kinds of things you might do when you interview people. But you're listening for things like what conversation would be helpful but isn't happening, trying to get a sense of what's going on in the community. Very often people don't have a shared big picture. They don't really talk deeply together, even though they see each other a lot. I'm going to go kind of fast here in service to time. This is a picture of the schedule. So let me get my laser pointer out here. So here we are today, and you're going to have 2 weeks the sooner we can form teams and choose a focus group of people, the better, because you may need some time to gain access to people and go out and listen to them, have conversations with them. And then in class, we'll check in with you. This is October 8th, or somewhere in here. Maybe it's the week after. We're in New York City with you again. Sorry? October 8th. So we'll be with you in New York City. And we'll do more teaching about what to do with this information that you're hearing, and then you'll have time to make sense of what you've heard and make a part of the practice here. It's not just, hey, you want to come to a gathering. We're looking for an invitation that actually matters to these folks, that they want to say yes to, because like that sounds valuable. And then we'll have more check-in and more teaching about methods you might use, a lot of stories about gatherings. We'll try to help you kind of have a good set of ideas and possibilities, because I think a lot of you may not have experienced the kinds of methods that we hope you'll be able to use. And then each team will have a coaching session with Hannah and I as you start doing your detailed preparation. And then you'll have, often teams find that it's hard to schedule these things. So we're trying to give you lots of time in here to be able to schedule it and arrange it and feel good about your preparation, and then actually do it. Our second to last class before Thanksgiving, each team will give a little presentation. Here's what happened, here's what we did. And then you'll have, the presentation is almost all of the report, but we're just asking that by our last class you turn in a report. And again, we'll give as clear instruction as we can about what's expected. It's not like a big paper, it's more like a PDF of the presentation plus some other things. So start thinking about who you might be interested. And this is the conversation I hope to have. But I know a lot of you have just moved to New York. Who do you know? Like what access do you have? So some of you have lived there for a while. Maybe you have ideas, but also DSI staff. Hannah and I know some people in New York. The second year students, they're starting to do thesis projects. They're connecting to organizations. They may already be starting to think about gatherings. We can help you connect to alumni, and Slack can do that too. We can post a broadcast on Slack, like who has access to a group for the first years. So we won't take time to fill all this out right now, but I want to show you a couple of spreadsheets. So one is a place for you to make notes. If you are thinking about, I have an idea, put it there, and other people can say like, oh, I'd be interested in helping with that. Yeah. And then below that, on this same spreadsheet, there's a place where we can actually record the teams that have formed. And then the other is, sometimes a team winds up with nobody that's ever done it before, and another team has 3 people that have facilitated before, or it comes presentation time and no one has ever done presentation or graphic design before. So we're also asking you to put X's on here, both so that you can kind of help see the mix of abilities and experience on your team, and we can kind of help advise on some of these things. I'm looking, I see that there's something in chat. Oh, is it necessary for this to be New York specific? I much prefer, I think we much prefer that this be in person if we can do it. If you have a specific idea, wait, what's happening? I'm getting an echo. Oh, if you have a specific idea for this Zoom gathering and it's really great, let's talk about it. Hannah, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. The The thing when you're hosting in person is that there is much more to think through and much more to practice. There is thinking through space and lighting and accessibility and food and where do you get your food from and how do you make signage. So there's many more moving parts when you're doing it in space, which is part of the practice. Also, it's still COVID, so we're not gonna force anyone to do it in person, but there is just a wider practice set available to practice if it is in person.
Yeah, thank you. And there's skills that you only learn through the experience of being in the room with people and sensing who's really here, who's confused, there are in-person skills that we hope you will get to practice. But we understand it's a pandemic, so we can work with you. Yeah. So here's the challenge. If we were all in the same room together right now, we would take some time to see who has ideas and form teams, but we kind of need to let you go. And so what I ask is that you think about this, talk together about it, write in the spreadsheet I shared and kind of check it. I'll send reminders and I'll send a whole text assignment so that it's like written down what to expect. And maybe I'll send an announcement on Canvas like Monday or Tuesday, checking in with you and asking if you'd like to have an office hour where some of you, even if it's not all of you, some of you can get together and we can kind of talk about where you are and what's needed, and we want to support you to help this go smoothly. What's on your mind? What should the group size be? I think 3 or 4 is about right. No less than 3. 5 is feeling too big.
Wait. Sorry, Mark. Sophia, are you asking about the group that you're facilitating or the group at DSI?
The group of students. Sorry, I should have clarified. So how many should be in our group that is facilitating, not the community that we're working?
Yeah. If you're a pair, maybe. I think again, depending on the situation and what you're up to and who it is, we can talk about it. But that's the starting point of view, 3 or 4.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What else? How are you feeling? Feeling confused? What questions do you have? Should we have some sort of sign-up sheet? That's what oh, here, let me actually share those links because I only shared them on the screen here. Sorry. Let me fix that.
And it will also be in Canvas.
Yeah.
For those watching the recording.
I forgot that sharing the screen, you can't click on my shared screen. And here is this other thing. Gosh. Right. So I know I'm repeating myself here, but it's going to feel vague and uncertain at the beginning. And then you're going to start focusing in and you'll find something that excites you. And then it starts to be a kind of weekly or bi-weekly applying what you've just learned. Yeah. Hannah, anything you would add that I have left out?
No, but just to summarize, the job is now to get into teams and to pick a community and to listen to 6 people.
Well, first here's what I'd suggest. I mean, you can either say like, oh, the 3 of us really want to work together, we make a good team. Now let's start looking for talking about who we would want to engage with, what slice of life, what group of people. But it also might be that one of you says, I just care so much about, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a good example. People who use this park. I see they're the regulars in the same park every day, what about New York designers in this design firm? They're trying to shift to social work, but all they can do is corporate work. I don't know what your situation is, but you're like, oh, you can put that with your name on it in that spreadsheet and see if other people are attracted to the part of the world that you would like to engage with. Yeah. Especially if you think you already have access to something that's helpful. It's going to be fun. The right kind of stretch. Yeah, Huayong.
Are we gonna form group ourselves freely?
Well, you can ask us to do it for you, but I thought I'd start by letting you see if there's some attraction in the group among you.
But what I ask is that the reason why I ask the question is that because for myself personally, I try to avoid the tendency to being in a group with the same person every classes.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna freely form group, I just want to remind everyone that has the same awareness as I have right now. So
I'm so glad you said that. Yes. Yeah. And let us know if you'd like our help in forming groups. If you're feeling like, oh, I wound up in a group, but I don't actually like it, or it's the same people all over again. Like we want to, that's another way we can support you. It's those culture practices. Okay, I'm almost ready to close, but I don't want to shut the door when there's something else you want to talk about. All right. Thanks for the day, folks.